fear, so that my cowardice and my fear is legitimized and I can blend in with the pack. The distinction, however, is that outside of this social order, we're not there yet, will be a person who is biologically determined, a person who's willing to sacrifice his life, literally, for himself, not for some group of people. You know, the thing that I'm willing to die for is what I'm doing right now. All right, I'm willing to die for this, for sure. I love my wife, I love my kids, but this is what it's really about. This is what it's really about, right? Because when, for me, and now I'm probably getting a little too deep, but when that time comes for me and the Reaper enters the room, it's not going to be any kicking and screaming. It's just going to be like, I lived 10 lives. I've saturated, I've oversaturated. Everything that I did was directed towards putting me in the social, not the social in me, right? Infusing the social with Jason J. Campbell, not the other way around. I don't really need that from the social, right? I'm not at the social with a handout asking. I'm at the social giving, right? And when you do get really cool comments like complacency among us, Ian Mathwiz, Pip LaPippo, and the Godfather's soul, secular numinous, to break off a little insight and help transform the way you think, then, you know, there's nothing else to be had. It's like a fine wine, right? That's as good as it gets. So it's important to recognize that morality, communal morality, the seduction, what that thing actually is self-preservation. I can think of communal morality as personified. I can offer you something. I can offer you self-preservation. Follow me now, because I'm going to go deep and I'm going to go quick. Communal morality as personified. You are the person being enticed. I can offer you something. I can offer you something. Self-preservation. I know you're scared right now, and I know you don't know what's going to happen in your future. But if you join us, we'll protect you. But we're not only going to protect you in this life, we'll protect you in the afterlife, right? So that when your time comes, and when you face the end of your biological determination, we'll be there for you. And after that time, we'll still be there. I mean, come on. Where do I sign? Where do I sign? Give me the contract. I'm ready to go, right? The seduction is self-preservation. But as we saw in note, I think it's 170. I had to call for papers for Christian defense. I never got it, so, you know, I don't have anything to refer to. Yeah, 170. And note 170, as we saw, this idea of self-preservation conflates the symbolic. I'm getting deep now. Follow me. It conflates the symbolic understanding of immortality as a concept. Immortality as a means of infinite possibility to biological immortality, so that the idea of self-preservation as an advantage of communal morality extends itself into the infinite biology, into biological infinity, right? So that it is the biological preservation of the individual believer into the afterlife forever, right? That concept, right? And as Nietzsche says, the audacity, the ego, to believe that this is Nietzsche, right? The ego, the audacity to believe that that could ever be the case. The hubris, right? So, very, very powerful stuff, right? Okay, I'm going to read 316 and explain. 316 is pretty short. Note 316. The hypocritical show with which all civil institutions are whitewashed, right? The hypocritical show, the act, the mask, with which all civil institutions are whitewashed, as if they were products of morality. For example, marriage, work, one's profession, the fatherland, the family, law. This was a point that was stated by Pip LaPippo, where I think it was absolutely genius. It didn't make it into the final cut, but if you want to watch it, watch his original, like the last maybe 10 minutes of the second video that he put up. It was absolutely genius. He was like, the architecture itself, our living space itself, he talks about Zizek and toilets, but our living space itself, the architecture itself is imbued with ideology. Like the ideology, our belief systems, our constructs are themselves infused within the things that we use in the world. I mean, just profound. Not only are they infused in the architecture and the things, but they're infused in the institutions. The institution of marriage, the institution of work, the Protestant work ethic, Christian marriage, man and woman only. Our profession, the haughty professor, the fatherland, patriotism, nationalism, gone apeshit. Pardon my French. The family, the structure of the nuclear family, mom, dad, 2 kids. Law as being justice if justice is weighed like this, right? But since they are one and all founded on the most mediocre type of man, since it's men from the herd, since it's herd mentality that built these structures, you use your herd thinking to construct these institutions. That herd mentality is infused within these institutions. That basic, banal mentality is a part of the institution. So that when I enter the institution and you tell me that this is how I ought to conduct myself as a married man, this is how I ought to conduct myself as a professor, here's how I ought to conduct myself. That's when you take out the hammer and you get to breaking down the institution. And this is what Nietzsche does. He war hammers the institution, right? I think that's just, first of all, 316, very, very, very powerful line. Most mediocre type of man, as protection against expectations and exceptional needs. It is only to be expected that they are full of lies, right? The institution can't offer me what it is that I need. The institution can't give me, Jason Campbell, what it is that I need, because I recognize that if I go to the institution with my hand out asking for alms, please help me, please, I'm so weak and I'm desperate. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if the person is sitting there and they're just like, watch this though. You guys come here, come watch this. They're gonna start begging. This is the great part, this is the great part, this is the great part. They're begging. Look, they're begging. Oh, isn't that great? Should we throw out some crumbs? We should throw out some crumbs? Nah, let's not throw out any crumbs. We're not gonna throw out any crumbs. We're just gonna watch you beg. Right? So suppose you're like, oh, institution, please help me. Help me, I'm so poor and weak and I'm so desperate and despondent. Oh, please help. Well, insofar as that happens, if the institution is informed by the mediocre and you're begging the institution, then you're less than mediocre. Right? Then you have, according to Freire, dehumanized yourself. The institution in this form is set up precisely to dehumanize the individual who is most marginalized. You are the person who has been systematically targeted for marginalization, and you go to the institution asking and begging, please help me, please help me. Well, if the institution is constructed by the mediocre and you're begging, then you aren't even human, right? Conceptually speaking, right? The idea is you have to find dignity. There has to be a sense of dignity that I am not going to beg. I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to beg. I'm not. I don't need handouts. I don't need your help. As a matter of fact, I have something you need. It's not the other way around. You don't have anything I need. And if it comes down to it, there has to be a sense in which the individual recognizes that, no, this is ultimately a fight for the preservation of myself. This is not a fight that's going to be had for anything else other than that. This is about me. And depending on how affected, influenced the individual is by that raw recognition is going to determine the wage of battle to be fought, right? A William Wallace he recognizes who he is. He recognizes that he's willing to die for this thing X. And because he has that, everybody else is then able to recognize a bit of that in themselves, right? And I'm jumping ahead here. But It's not the other way around. It's not that I go to the institution and look for my identity into the institution, that I'm waiting for the institution to give me a handout. Are you serious? Are you serious? The institution was built by the most base, banal, mediocre, average-minded individuals ever, right? So if that's something you want, then fine, you know. And this lecture series is not going to go over well with everybody, right? There's a bit of arrogance, there's a bit of cockiness you need, right? And people are going to like it, some people are not. But you have to determine how you're going to live your life, not me. I'm going to pause because I'm running out of battery life, and then I'll come back and finish up the section 10.